I've often asked people, what's the most scary movie that they've ever seen. I'll tell them that compared to addiction, that movie that you're talking about is like Bambi Comes Home.
Still not giving up, though wish that I was sober. Forgive me, I can't speak straight. Forgive me, I can't.
Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. We're looking to help people create their lives, not find themselves. So the concept of fishing without bait was a lifetime without definitive expectations, as we've often found that that's the thing that causes much depression and anxiety. So the only requirements for membership in this club is the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. And if you have a few pixie dust sprinkles of those, you're well on your way. Well, welcome to tonight's episode. My name's Jim Ellermeyer, and I'm a behavioral health therapist, and we're so happy to have you. And tonight I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
It has been so long since you and I have had a conversation. We had some great guests. We had, of course, Zeke Mercer over this last month, and I think, did we have Jennifer before that with Karma Fakula?
Yes.
Before that, we had so many great conversations. It was kind of nice to step aside and let you guys go for a little bit, but I'm happy to be back.
I'm happy to have you here, Mike. So what we're doing tonight is we're analyzing a song, and of course, I think everyone knows by now that I'm in long-term recovery from drug and alcohol addiction, and I wanted to pick out a couple songs that really reflected that type of genre, the singers that talked from their soul and their heart about their dealings with their own addiction issues. And the first one, Mike, that I've chose was I Wish I Was Sober by Frightened Rabbit. For those who aren't familiar with Frightened Rabbit, they're a band out of Scotland by two brothers, Scott Hutchison and Grant Hutchison, with a group, and they sang some very poignant songs. One of them was particularly about addiction, and I found that this was one of the most realistic depictions of addiction that I've ever seen. I've watched it at least 75 or 80 times, and the first time I saw it, I wept because it touched home for me so hard.
Absolutely, and there's some really strong visuals in concepts in this video. But let's get into the lyrics first, and we can talk about how that was kind of depicted on screen as well.
Yes,
a little bit later.
So to give you a little visualization. It's the top of like a parking lot, and this woman is there who looks fairly beaten up by her addiction. And in this, there's a number of people swirling around in white, and you can visualize them as the addictive mind and the demons. So the first line says, "Fall prey to the blizzard head, wrapped my hand around the glass again," which means that he succumbed to the use of alcohol yet again and found the blizzard head is when you have so much chaos inside of your head, so much chatter inside of your head that you wrap your hand around the glass to try to stop it. And it says, "We all thought that I might change as I get older. Fell down and nothing bled, wrapped in cotton, alcohol again." That's one of the common hopes of loved ones, or the common hope of people in addiction, that this is just a phase that they're going through, and they'll pass through it and they'll get out of it.
Kind of like the idea of you will grow out of your party days or something like that, right?
Well, there's a difference between party days, and there's a difference between that and addiction.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the basic three types of drinkers, and it talks about the social drinker who we would call the woohoo drinker. Aunt Mary has a couple drinks at the picnic, and it's a woohoo. However, then we get into a heavy drinker, but given sufficient cause, a heavy drinker can stop or moderate. Okay, but then there becomes the disease of the substance user, the alcoholism, where they cannot stop or moderate, or if when using, they have little or no control over the amount they take. So we're talking about a person who's trapped in addiction, and what the video actually describes was the torturous life that a person in addiction lives. It's torturous. It's people think that they're having fun or they're escaping from reality or
Right.
they can quit anytime they want to. It is torture. Living that life's a nightmare. So he talks about, to the hill I hear the prick upon my shoulder, that the addictive mind's poking him. Free pour the fruitless thoughts. It's far too late to talk too much, but still not giving up, though. I wish that I was sober. That's the common hope of every person in addiction, that someday, somehow, they'll be able to drink or use like they see others doing with impunity, but not us. They're thinking that I know that I'm going to get over this. However, every day I can share this with you folks out there. Every day I would wake up and I would pound my leg and I would firmly resolve not to use that day. Every single day I would make that resolution. And usually by early afternoon or even earlier, that thought would fade. I would just say, well, I'll quit tomorrow. Maybe a lot of people out there felt like that, Mike. It's always tomorrow. Always tomorrow. It's never today. Because the thought of stopping using or the thought of quitting forever was overwhelming and foreign to us. Do you ever deal with it like that? Anything in your life? Do you ever use the word tomorrow?
Yeah. Usually when you're having a hard day and you get that extra donut or something, like, yep, I'll do better tomorrow.
So he begs, he says, forgive me, I can't speak straight. Forgive me, I can't. Forgive me, it's far too late. So that's what happens after you succumb to the desire again and you just say, well, it's over, I'll start again tomorrow.
And you let it take you.
Yes.
At that point.
Well, it takes us, but remember, we give our choices away. Alcoholism is a disease, drugs and situations like that. We give our choices away, Mike. We do. Sometimes we think it's taken away from us, but we freely give them. It says, choke down the gateway drug. I want to spend a few moments talking about this. He says, choke down the gateway drug. It was always government propaganda, and you can think about that as however you choose, that marijuana was the gateway drug.
Yeah.
And I didn't make all this stuff up. It's proven that tobacco and alcohol are the gateway drugs.
The ones that are freely available.
The ones that are freely available. So why do you think that the U.S. government chose to demonize marijuana rather than alcohol or tobacco?
Because the other ones had an industry behind them.
Say more about that.
Yeah, because we're very supportive of the industry that has money to put behind it. If you take out a competitor, then people are going to put more money into your addictive substance instead of the other one.
Do you believe that the alcohol industry or the tobacco industry wanted to see marijuana legalized?
I believe it. I believe they didn't.
No,
because now they have that competition.
Because it would be a great competitor. Okay, and do you think the United States government and state and local authorities collect a lot of tax revenue from the sale of alcohol and tobacco? So, tobacco farmers are subsidized by the federal government. So they're subsidized by the federal government in the same hand then, but the federal government puts out all of these public service announcements. It's telling you how horrible tobacco was for you. It's a paradox, okay? And we've talked before, but I want to talk briefly again. And believe me, I'm not advocating for the use of marijuana, but I know why it's illegal. There was a particular gentleman back in the 30s, and his name was Harry Assinger, okay? And he was the nephew of the Secretary of the Treasury, William Mellon, okay? So he got his job through nepotism. But actually, Harry Assinger was one of the he was a horrible bigot, and disliked he disliked immigrants, he disliked foreigners, he disliked all those type of people. And he had two main Confederates, William Randolph Hearst in California, who owned the Hearst publication empire, owned almost every newspaper and magazine in the United States. And he had another Confederate by the name of William DuPont, who had the DuPont Chemical Company down in Virginia. Okay, so William Randolph Hearst also was a bigot, and Pancho Villa, that was the Mexican revolutionary, confiscated large tracts of timberland that Hearst owned to feed the pulp mills, which fed the paper industry. Okay, and he began to hate Mexicans. He hated them, despised them because of that, and he also saw hemp as a direct competitor to his pulp mills. Okay, because you can make almost anything out of hemp. So William DuPont was a Southerner and a bigot, hated black people. And so he also saw hemp as a direct competitor to his plastics industry because, again, you could make anything out of hemp. So they demonized marijuana. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the film Reefer Madness, which is now viewed as a cult film and ridiculous. So, however, those two were the ones who funded the production of Reefer Madness. And this was before radio was really dominant. This was before television. This was before the internet. So really the only way that people obtained information was through newspapers and magazines. The Saturday Evening Post was the most widely circulated magazine in the United States. So these two would hire people to go across the country. They would hire teams to go to PTAs, and they would scare people about the horrors of marijuana, and that the only thing that black men wanted to do was use cocaine and rape your white virgin daughters. Now this was for real, okay? So through their bribery and Harry Assinger's publication, that he was the first drug czar, so he promoted all of this nonsense, and they in 1938 the Marijuana Tax Stamp Act was passed, which meant that the only people who could sell marijuana was people who had tax stamps, and they didn't give them out to anybody. Okay, so that's how marijuana became illegal. And when President John F. Kennedy was elected president of the United States, I'm sure he had, and on his inauguration day, I'm sure he had many things to talk about. But his first official act was president of the United States was to fire Harry Assinger. That was his first official act. So that's a little background in how the gateway drug, which Scott Hutchison, who was the songster, he was the writer of all the lyrics for the band. That's what he called the gateway drug. I think that's really important. Opened the glass, and came the flood. It comes without warning, like a token of love. It hit me without warning. And that's the way usually people with the disease of alcoholism, it hits me without warning. Long nights of getting lost. I walk beneath the bridge I don't know. I need a black suit for tomorrow. I'm in mourning. Okay? Because alcoholism feeds depression. However, people with depression generally self-medicate with alcohol. Addiction and depression, mental illness walk hand in hand down the street, and they hug and kiss on the corner. My love, you should know the best of me left hours ago. So he's not his authentic self. Alcohol has taken over his personality. But he describes it so distinctly and so wonderfully. Shove a rag into my mouth and let me smolder. Fall out in the damage done. I can't unsing this. I can't unsing the songs I've sung the terrible things that you said when you're unfiltered. You can't take them back. Most people, when they do get clean and sober, they're overcome with guilt and remorse. And that's what he's talking about. Not giving up, though. I wish that I were sober. Forgive me, I can't speak straight. Forgive me, I can't. Forgive me, it's far too late. And he's in the depths of alcoholism, the depths of depression. Oh, come and shake me until I'm dry. I wish that I was sober. Oh, come to me and kill the night off. I wish that I was sober. Oh, come and shake me till I'm dry. Oh, I wish that I was sober. Oh, come to me and kill the night off. I wish that I was sober. He's desperately pleading for help, desperate to conquer his addiction. However, Scott Hutchison was consumed with his mental illness, which was depression, and his use of alcohol. And in May the 9th of 2019, he sent out a tweet, which I'll read, which was very poignant. He sent out a tweet that said, "Be so good to everyone you love, it's not a given. I'm so annoyed that it's not. I didn't live by that standard and it kills me. Please hug your loved ones." Followed by a tweet that said, "I'm away now. Thanks." And that was on May 9th of 2018. And he was last seen at 1 a.m. in that morning walking, and they found his body the next morning at 8:30 a.m. He had taken his life. So I hope that everyone out there takes those words and listens to those lyrics again, and to find out how tortured a life is, that he had a tortured life and was consumed, and how addiction is a tortured life. It's a nightmare. I've often asked people, what's the most scary movie that they've ever seen, and they'll come up with a lot of different types of scenarios, and I'll tell them that compared to addiction, that movie that you're talking about is like Bambi Comes Home.
Yeah, you talked a lot about the reference to the visuals of this music video that goes along with this, and it is a lot of like people pulling at the individual, and you said this is kind of reflective of that noise and in that pulling sense that you get in 100 different ways in your head when this happens, right?
Well, it talks about it in the Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book, talks about the abnormal becoming normal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're trapped in that world, and you're being pulled in all types of different directions. There's a part of you that wants to be clean, wants to be. I wish that I were sober,
Mm-hmm.
but then the addictive mind takes over, and it just talks to you, and it said, "Not today." One more time, it won't hurt. You've had a good day, you've had a bad day, and then you've succumbed to the desire again. You just succumb to the desire, and it's a torturous life. And my hope is that everyone out there, we're going to include some links to mental health resources, suicide hotlines, those type of resources. Our hope is out there that if you have those type of issues, we urge you to seek help. And I'm hoping that everyone, what we'd love to do is share recovery stories on this program. We have many people, and everybody's in recovery from something. So my hope is that you listen to some of these recovery stories that we've shown, that you can get help, and if you make a choice, others will help you also. So I know that was a bit of a depressing, perhaps, episode, but I want to emphasize that what we want to write everyone out there is a big prescription for help, that there is help out there. If you don't care about yourself, we certainly do, and we'll love you until you do. And at the end of every program, what we like to do is offer a free prescription: fruits, nuts, and vegetables, and unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. What's good for you is good for everyone. It's okay to be selfish and self-centered about your own recovery. Till all are free, none are free. Free yourself. Walk out of your jail cell. The door is open. Until then, God bless you all. Namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutfaith.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.